ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11, Verse 22. केचित् कर्म वदन्त्येनं स्वभावम् अपरे नृप एककालं परे दैवं पुंसः कामम् उतापरे. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and still others say that it is due to desire. The differentiation among varieties of life, why there are so many different types of life forms and their suffering and enjoyment, is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others say due to time, others say it's due to fate, still others say it is due to desire. There are different types of philosophers: Mimamsakas, atheists, astronomers, sexualists, and so many other classifications of mental speculators. The real conclusion is that it is our work only that binds us within this material world in different varieties of life. How these varieties have sprung up is explained in the Vedas. It is due to the desire of the living entity. The living entity is not a dead stone. He has different varieties of desires or kama. The Vedas say kamo karshit. The living entities are originally parts of the Lord like sparks of a fire, but they have dropped to this material world attracted by a desire to lord it over material nature. That is a fact. Every living entity is trying to lord it over the material resources to the best of his ability. So it's karma caused because of the desires of the jivas. So desires and karma, these are together responsible for different varieties of life. This karma or desire cannot be annihilated. There are some philosophers who say that if one gives up his desires, he again becomes liberated. But it is not at all possible to give up desire, for desire is a symptom of the living entity. If there were no desire, then the living entity would be a dead stone. Prabhupada is writing this twice in the same purport. Srila Narottama Das Thakur therefore advises that one turn his desire towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everybody has desires, endless desires, which have been the cause for our bondage and continue to be the cause. So Narottama Das Thakur is saying that turn your desire towards serving Krishna. Then desire becomes purified, and when one's desires are purified, one becomes liberated from all material contamination. So when does one become liberated from all material contamination? When one's desires are purified. So we should understand the root cause is desires. Desires have to be purified. Till we have desires for sense gratification, that is material contamination. So each of us have to reflect upon this, saying that what are our desires? What are our desires independent of Krishna? Meaning, instead of serving and pleasing Krishna, we seem to have other desires. And we have to figure out what these desires are and why are we desiring it. Some of it can be rectified just by jnana, by understanding, saying that our attachment or desires which are springing from material attachment, just illusion. because they don't exist. It's just in our mind. Why it's in our mind? Because whatever we desire will just be temporary and it will just vanish like a bubble in course of time. It's not going to be permanent. So those desires are really just like in a dream. Prabhupada mentions this in multiple purports. So it's like a dream. Hmm. Who becomes attracted by dreams? So desires have to be purified. Conclusion is that the different philosophers' theories to explain the varieties of life and their pleasure and pain are all imperfect. A real explanation is that we are eternal servants of God, and that as soon as we forget this relationship, we are thrown into the material world where we create our different activities and suffer or enjoy the result. We are drawn into this material world by desire, but the same desire must be purified and employed in the devotional service of the Lord. Then our desire of wandering in the universe under different forms and conditions will end. See, desire for ourselves is the cause of suffering. Desire for Krishna is the cause of course, we are not so much interested in liberation. It's the cause of real happiness. Mm. So why are we attracted? Why do we have desires towards connected with this material world is something that all of us have to reflect. So it's our desires. अव्यक्तस्याप्रमेयस्य नानाशक्त्युदयस्य च न वै चिकीर्षितं तात को वेदाथ स्वसंभवम्. The absolute truth transcendence is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory endeavor. Hmm. Absolute truth is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory endeavor, meaning we just use our senses to speculate. It's not the subject of that, meaning by speculation we cannot understand transcendence. Nor is he the subject to direct experience. He's not subject to direct experience. Mm, We can't experience him directly. He's the master of varieties of energies, like the full material energy, and no one can understand his plans or actions. No one can understand. Mm. So when Bhishma Dev is talking to all the Pandavas, then he says that all this, how can you, who are sons of Dharma, suffer like this? It is all because of inconceivable destiny. And who is this destiny? He's standing here. We can't understand. Nobody can understand his actions, his plans. Therefore, it should be concluded that although he is the original cause of all causes, no one can know him by mental speculation. Mm. The question may be raised, since there are so many varieties of philosophers theorizing in different ways, which of them is correct? The answer is that the absolute truth transcendence is never subject to direct experience or mental speculation. The mental speculator may be called Dr. Frog. The story is that a frog in a 3-foot well wanted to calculate the length and breadth of the Atlantic Ocean on the basis of knowledge of his own well. But it was an impossible task for Dr. Frog. A person may be a great academician, scholar, or professor, but he cannot speculate and expect to understand the absolute truth. For his senses are limited. The cause of all causes, the absolute truth, can be known from the absolute truth himself and not by our ascending process to reach him. Aroha Pranta, Aroha. We are climbing ourselves. That is not possible. When the sun is not visible at night or when it is covered by a cloud in the day, it is not possible to uncover it, either by bodily or mental strength or by scientific instruments. Although the sun is there in the sky, no one can say that he has discovered a torchlight so powerful that that if one goes on a roof and focuses the torchlight on the night sky, the sun will then be seen. There is no such torchlight, nor is it possible. Hmm. So we can't understand, we can't see the sun by our torchlight. Similarly, we can't understand Supreme Lord by our tiny brain, by our attempting to speculate. The word Avyakta, unmanifested in this verse, indicates that the absolute truth cannot be manifested by any strain of so-called scientific advancement of knowledge, any strain. meaning whatever branches of knowledge one might uh, one might use, it's not possible. Transcendence is not the subject matter of direct experience. The absolute truth may be known in the same way as the sun covered by cloud or covered by night. For when the sun rises in the morning in its own way, then everyone can see the sun. Ganendra Prabhu, I'm muting you because there's some disturbance. Then everyone can see the sun, everyone can see the world, and everyone can see himself. This understanding of self-realization is called Atma Tattva. Unless, however, one comes to this point of understanding Atma Tattva, one remains in the darkness in which he was born. So basically, Prabhupada is saying that unless one comes to the platform of knowing the self, he cannot know the super self. So we cannot do that by speculation. Under the circumstances, no one can understand the plan of the Supreme Person who got it. The Lord is equipped with varieties of energies, as stated in the Vedic literature. Parasya Shaktir Vivadeva Shruyate. He is equipped with the energy of eternal time. Not only does he have the material energy which we see and experience, but he has also many reserve energies that he can manifest in due course of time when necessary. The material scientist can simply study the partial understanding of the varieties of natures. He can take up one of the energies and try to understand it with limited knowledge. But still, it is not possible to understand the absolute truth in full by dint of material science. No material scientist can foretell what is going to happen in the future. Bhakti Yoga process, however, is completely different from so-called scientific advancement of knowledge. A devotee completely surrenders unto the Supreme, who reveals himself by his causeless mercy. So Krishna reveals himself by his causeless mercy to a devotee who has completely surrendered unto him. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tham. Lord says, I give him intelligence. What is that intelligence? Yenamam upayantite. Lord gives one the intelligence to cross over the ocean of nescience and come back home, back to Godhead. And whom does it give it to? Whom does he give the intelligence to? To the one who is completely surrendered unto him. In conclusion, the cause of all causes, the absolute truth of Supreme Brahman, cannot be understood by philosophical speculation, but he reveals himself to his devotee because the devotee fully surrenders unto his lotus feet. Bhagavad Gita is therefore to be accepted as a revealed scripture spoken by the absolute truth himself when he descended to this planet. If any intelligent man wants to know what God is, he should study this transcendental literature under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Then it is very easy to understand Krishna as is. Prabhupada is saying it's very easy to understand Krishna. So which means that our understanding of Krishna depends on what? What does our understanding of Krishna depend on? Yeah, Shashank Prabhu.
The amount of the level of surrenderness.
Level of surrender. Very
Level
good.
of surrenderness.
It depends on our level of surrender. That is why it's very difficult to understand Krishna. It's like it's relative. It's relative, right? So one might experience Krishna, another may not experience Krishna because of their surrender. And so then the one who is not surrendered, he will say, no, 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 Krishna is not like this, Krishna is like this. Because he is not surrendered. So he doesn't really understand Krishna. While the one who is surrendered, he is experiencing Krishna. So he can tell, no, 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 Krishna is not like that, Krishna is like this. So even amongst devotees, there will be different levels of understanding of Krishna. Different extent to which devotees can understand Krishna based on their level of surrender. Yeah, Prabhupada.
So I never completely understood this point that in order to understand the Lord, we have to understand ourselves first. So though it is correct that Jiva is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but still that's a different entity, right? So
But if you don't understand that I am Atma, how will you accept Paramatma? Atma means part and parcel of the Supreme. So first we have to understand that I am Atma, I am not the body. If you are thinking that we are the body, how can we understand Atma? How can we understand Paramatma? How can we understand Bhagavan?
Hmm.
So see, today we are not able to separate this because we understand. We understand. We at least accept. We may not be able to completely realize, but we at least accepting that yeah, I'm Atma. Oh, so I'm Atma. Then where did I come from? Oh, I came from Paramatma. I came from Bhagavan. I'm part and parcel. So if you don't understand me myself, then I can't understand him. Prabhupada says no, because like we are a small part, small spark of that, right? So if we try to understand the big completely directly, we can't understand. You have to understand the small. We are when we understand the small, and when we understand that we are small, then we will surrender to him. If we don't understand that we are small and belong part and parcel of him, and we think that we are big, then we can never understand. That is the mental speculators. So if we don't understand that I am this tiny being who has to surrender to the Supreme Lord, there is no way I can understand the Supreme Lord, because Supreme Lord is not going to reveal himself.
Hmm.
Surrender means knowing my position. Only then I will surrender. No.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why will I surrender? If I don't surrender, Prabhupada is so clearly saying, if you don't surrender, you won't understand Krishna, because Krishna won't reveal.
Okay, so basically it is related to surrender, that unless you know that you are small part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and you don't surrender, then the knowledge transition will not happen from the
Not
Supreme Lord to
knowledge, not knowledge. Reveal. This is
revelation,
realization.
realization.
Knowledge
Yeah.
anybody can have. If I just say that, okay, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is Supreme Lord, that is knowledge. Right? But what is the Supreme Lord? That we cannot understand. We can, yeah, somebody might say, okay, Krishna is very merciful. Now that is knowledge. But realization will be experienced will be got by only one who is surrendered to Krishna and does something depending on him, and then he says, yes, Krishna is so merciful. Yes, Krishna protects his devotees. Yes. All these things that we have heard in the Shastra, it is true, because we will experience it when we surrender to Krishna. Then we can
Hmm.
say, yes, this is correct, because I've experienced it. That is realization.
Yeah. Now it's clear, bro. Thank you, bro.
Right? So see, we have to be very careful about the words we use, right? So it's not like it's not transition of not. See, we should never try to bring our material kind of language into Krishna consciousness, especially for preachers. It is very, very important. Keep your mundane language out of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness English should be based on what Prabhupada has written. The
Hmm.
words have to be chosen. That is the reason why we have to keep reading Prabhupada's books again and again. So if you're preaching in English, you have to read in English. If you're preaching in Hindi, you have to read in Hindi. You have to preach. If you're preaching in whatever language, you have to read the book in that language, provided it's been properly presented. Right? Because the language has to be technical.
Hmm.
Then we can explain in English. That is okay. But the language has to be technical. Now, if you say a transition of knowledge, no, there is nothing like transition of knowledge.
Hmm.
Transition of knowledge means like it's coming from one place to another. No, if Shastra is there. Shastra is revealing knowledge. Now, to the extent we are surrendered, we can understand, we can accept, and then it will also be realized to that extent. So, nobody is transitioning any knowledge, right? So,
Hmm.
you have to be very, very careful about the words, because each and everything means something, right? So it's about knowledge is something that one reads from Shastra and acquires, or one hears from Guru and acquires, right? But the realization is something that is revealed, and that happens only to a devotee who is surrendered. And that
Yes,
is
bro.
called realization.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? Okay. Yeah, Vamshi Prabhu.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
You mentioned that realizations are also at different levels for different devotees, right?
Based on that surrender.
Based on, right. So, how do we assess ourselves where we are, like how we should progress?
Yeah. So when we read Prabhupada's books, then Prabhupada is saying so many things. Then we'll understand, saying that okay, 50% of the statements I've experienced, or 10% I've experienced, or whatever, 5% I've experienced, then we know that we have 95% to go. See, but for that, we have to actually very, very scrutinizingly read Prabhupada's books. Only then we can understand all this. So we have to understand, saying that what is knowledge, we have to understand what are realizations. Then we will understand. See, okay, how do I explain? So sometimes we are reading something in Prabhupada's purport which we don't understand. That means that we are not even come to the platform of understanding the knowledge. Forget about realization. So let me put it this way. So there are some aspects of the knowledge presented by Srila Prabhupada which we can't even understand. There are some which we can understand but we have not realized. There'll be some which we have understood and we have also realized. So there are 3 levels. I'm repeating it. Some we cannot even understand what Prabhupada is saying. Some we can understand but we have not realized. Some we have understood and we have also realized. So to that extent, we have made progress. So if 100% of what Prabhupada is saying in his books we have understood and realized, that means that we have reached a very high, like a very advanced devotee stage.
Understood, bro. Okay.
Yeah, so the gauge is basically Prabhupada. We cannot say anything else. We cannot say I know, I realized, I saw Krishna. Yeah, I mean, I can say I saw Krishna, but if the Krishna is not in line with what Prabhupada is describing in his books, then it's our mental speculation. No, it's like that. So we can't just supersede. We can't just just cross over Prabhupada and say I realized. No, right? So realization means it should be in line with what Srila Prabhupada is giving, because he is our Acharya. He is the one who can say whether this is a realization or mental speculation. Is that okay? Complex answer?
Yes, Prabhu. Understood, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
24. न चैते पुत्रक भ्रातुर्हन्तारो धनधानुगाः विसर्गादानयोस्तात पुंसो दैवं हि कारणम्. My dear son, those yakshas who are descendants of Kuvera are not actually the killers of your brother. The birth and death of every living entity are caused by the Supreme, who is certainly the cause of all causes. स एव विश्वं सृजति स एवावति हन्ति च अथापि ह्यनहङ्कारान् नाज्यते गुणकर्मभिः. Supreme Person of Godhead creates this material world, maintains it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he is transcendental to such activities, he is never affected by ego in such action or by the modes of material nature. In this verse, the word anahankara means without ego. The conditioned soul has a false ego, and as a result of his karma, he gets different types of bodies in this material world. Sometimes he gets the body of a demigod, and he thinks that that body to be his identity. Similarly, when he gets the body of a dog, he identifies himself with that body. But for the Supreme Person of Godhead, there is no such distinction between the body and the soul. Bhagavad Gita therefore certifies that anyone who thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human being is without knowledge of his transcendental nature and is a great fool. The Lord says, Namam karmani limpanti. He is not affected by anything he does because he is never contaminated by the material modes of nature. We getting affected by what we do is only because it is mundane, material. So we are getting affected by it. Right? Krishna doesn't do anything mundane. So he's not affected by it. That we have a material body proves that we are infected by the 3 modes. Lord says to Arjuna, you and I had many, many births previously, but I remember everything, whereas you do not. That is the difference between the living entity or conditioned soul and the supreme soul. The super soul, the Supreme Person of Godhead, has no material body, and because he has no material body, he is not affected by any work he executes. There are many Mayavadi philosophers who consider that Krishna's body is the effect of a concentration of the material mode of goodness. And they distinguish Krishna's soul from Krishna's body. What nonsense. And these people go, they come across as great philosophers. People will say, oh yeah, this person said he's such a great person. The real situation, however, is that the body of the conditioned soul, even if he has a large accumulation of material goodness, is material. Whereas Krishna's body is transcendental. Krishna has no false ego. But he does not identify himself with the false and temporary body. His body is always eternal. He descends to this world in his own original spiritual body. Atma Mayaya. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita as Param Bhavam. The words Param Bhavam and Divyam are especially significant in understanding Krishna's personality. Actually, we can't understand this. Janma karma cha me divyam. That is why Krishna is saying, one who can understand this, punarjanma neti. He doesn't take birth again. To understand Krishna's janma and karma are transcendental. How do we understand Krishna's karma is transcendental? How can we understand that Krishna's this verse Janma Karma Chame Divyam? How can we understand this? Yeah, Prabhu.
So Lord existed even before the material creation happened.
Knowledge.
So,
You're giving knowledge. I'm asking, how do you realize this?
yeah, realization.
How do we realize this? Yeah. Who lifted hands? But 2 participants. Yeah, Shashank Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. When we read past tense of Krishna,
Again, knowledge. Knowledge versus realization. I'm trying to make the distinction for all of you. There's knowledge and there's realization. One is, yeah, when I read about Krishna, I say, okay, Krishna is like this, Krishna is like that. Okay, Krishna is transcendental. How do I realize this? That Krishna is transcendental. We already discussed this. I'm just trying to help you connect up different purports, different pieces of discussions that we have made. What did we say? Realization means Krishna has to reveal himself. When will Krishna reveal himself?
when we surrender.
When we completely surrender. So if we have to understand Krishna as he is, then we have to completely surrender, and then Krishna has to reveal, and only then we can realize. Otherwise, yes, today we have faith and we accept knowledge in good faith, saying that, oh, okay, Acharyas are saying, Prabhupada is saying, so yes, I accept, which is a very good platform, which is the starting platform. But if you want to realize it, that Krishna's body is spiritual, then it has to be only through realization, which is going to happen when Krishna reveals himself to us. Krishna reveals to a devotee, when devotee surrendered, completely surrendered, does Vaidhi Bhakti, comes to the stage of Raganuga, comes to Prema, then Krishna reveals himself. So we have a long way to go. But the process is, we can reach the conclusion or we can reach the perfection if we follow the process given by Srila Prabhupada. If we don't follow the process, then we will not reach, and then we will think that bhakti is not powerful enough. Then we'll say Gnana is powerful. No, but if we follow bhakti in a surrendered, completely surrendered state of existence, then we can realize Krishna, then we'll understand how powerful bhakti is. So again, how do we surrender to Krishna? What should we do to surrender to Krishna? One more link. These are all links. The preachers here have to start remembering, connecting these links. I'm making links. So now how do we completely surrender to Krishna? What should we do? No, you have to
By
quote a verse. No, one second. You have to quote a verse. If you don't quote a verse, then your answer is incomplete. What is that verse which describes surrender? Yeah.
Sarva Dharman Parityaja.
Sarva Dharman.
Okay. I told that the actual process of surrender
Anukulya
is
sankalpa
yeah,
pratikulya.
yeah. So you have to read the purport of this Sarvadharman Parityaja, where Prabhupada has mentioned this verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishati iti vishwaso goptritve varnam tata atmanikshepa karpanyo shadvida sharanagati. So if somebody says what is sharanagati, you should say this. So completely surrender means completely following these 6 things, 6 aspects of surrender. Means complete surrender. So anukulyasya sankalpaha, whatever is anukula, whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness, we have to do. Whatever is unfavorable, we should give up. And when we are in the process of giving up, then we have to say rakshishati iti vishwaso, having faith that Krishna will take care. So one live example. So I was talking to Prabhu. Prabhu had a job offer which was not very favorable to Krishna consciousness. And then we were thinking that, okay, let's accept it as apad dharma and look for another job. Even before we completed that conversation, and within 24 hours, he's got another job offer, which is possibly anukulyasya sankalpa. So it's like this. See, when we are trying to follow what Krishna is saying, what our acharyas are saying, automatically the mercy comes because we are trying to be sincere and trying to follow stuff. So this is a realization. Then you can say, yes, Krishna is there. Krishna reciprocates because I experienced this. So this is realization. How did you get the realization? Because you're trying to implement, you're trying to follow what Krishna is saying, what acharyas are saying. This is surrender. So like this, so you have to make that connection. When we follow these different aspects of surrender, we will realize Krishna's presence in our life. Because Krishna will show, no, I'm here. Don't worry. Follow. Do whatever is favorable to Krishna consciousness. I will take care. Yeah, Raju Prabhu, you had a question?
No, Prabhu, I don't have question, but I mean, in first canto, second chapter, divinity and divine services. So there is a from verse 16 to 22, there is a progress how we can do in the path of bhakti is explained. So I remember that. So the first is like we need to serve the pure devotees. Then we will get then we will get the taste of hearing. Then after that, if we get that taste, then the next step is our anarthas will get starting disappearance of obstacles will happen. Then the steadiness will come. Then that process is explained, Prabhu, in those verses.
Those are the stages of bhakti. That is anukulyasya sanka. That is ado shraddha tada sadhu sangha bhajana kriya anartha
Yeah,
nivritti.
because if we reach that state, you told that whichever is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, we need to reject those. To reach that stage, the preliminary qualification is regularly we need to hear. Because recently I was hearing one lecture of Maharaj. So there Maharaj told, initially if you didn't get the taste to sit in the Bhagavatam class also, you go and sit, whether you will get interest or not. And fix your sadhana. That's what Maharaj is saying. Due to that, we will get that determination, Prabhu, gradually.
Yeah, but this is not connected with Sharanagati. So this is the process of bhakti. We're discussing about
Okay.
Sharanagati. These are stages of bhakti, and that is why Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. So when we do Sadhu Sangha, by the mercy of those devotees with whom we associate, we get the taste for Shravanam Kirtanam. Now, based on the devotees, what kind of association we got when we came into Krishna consciousness, that is very, very important, right? If we didn't get the association of devotees who actually are fixed in Shamanam Kirtanam, then we will also not develop taste. So that is why those verses which are connected to Narada Muni being said that because initially he didn't have taste, but he simply served those devotees who had taste, and then so he got taste. And then
And
yes,
you were
once
asking about how we realize. So the last stage is after prema, that darshanam,
yeah,
vision. Yeah. So
that is at
realization will
prema.
come.
That is
Yeah.
at prema, stage of prema. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So to reach that, we need to start from first step, like serving the devotees, then hearing, right, Prabhu?
no, we are already starting. I am again clarifying. Okay, see, the process of
Mhm.
bhakti is clear to everybody. Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha. So we have to do association devotees. Then we have to do Bhajana Kriya, which is Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. Right? So focused on Shravanam Kirtanam. Now, when we are in this process of Shravanam Kirtanam, what should be our mood? This is what Sharanagati is talking about, right? So,
Mhm.
see, if we come to Krishna consciousness, we are in association of devotees, but we don't hear and listen to anybody. We want to remain retain our independence. Then we are taking wrong decisions in life. Now, all this will prevent us from making progress in the Anartha Nivritti stage. So, we will keep adding Anarthas in our life. So while the process idea is that one moves from one stage to the other, how does one move? By a process of surrender. What is that process of surrender? Is Anukulasya Sankalpa Pratikulasya Varjana. So this process of surrender is underlying, it's like a foundation, right? Based on the foundation of first level Shraddha, then we will do Bhajana Kriya, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya. Like that we will keep progressing, but the foundation is surrender. So we should understand one
Mhm.
is the stages, the other is the foundation. If we are not surrendered, then our progress through these stages will become very slow. While everybody has to progress through these stages, but who will progress fast? One who is surrendered will progress fast.
Okay.
Yeah. So those verses actually, the important aspect about those verses is those who don't have taste for hearing. You have to serve those devotees who have taste. Then we will get the taste. That is the key thing there. And of course, through the life of Narada Muni, we are actually given to experience, understand, saying that, see, one devotee can actually go through this, make progress, and achieve perfection, right? But that is separate from the concept of Sharanagati. Is it clear? People got confused, or is it clear what I explained? Everybody clear? So there is stages in bhakti, and then there is Sharanagati. So stages in bhakti is Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. So first we have faith, then we do Sadhu Sangha. Then from sadhus or devotees, we learn what is the process of bhakti. And then we start practicing the bhakti, which is Bhajana Kriya. By doing Bhajana Kriya nicely, Anartha Nivritti happens. All the Anarthas go. And then we come to the stage of Nishtha, then Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, etc. But for us to be able to make progress, we have to be surrendered. And the process of surrender is this verse, Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjana. Okay, hope it's clear. Okay, so we'll stop here. Yeah, Prabhu.
So I have one question. Can realization be communicated by a pure devotee to other devotee? Or we
Yeah,
have to
that's what.
only
No. Preaching means realization, sharing realizations.
Yeah, but when you said that for realization, we have to depend on the mercy of Krishna only, right? So
Yeah.
let's say if our chitta is not ready to receive that realization, that then we might not realize
Oh,
the thing which is communicated by a pure devotee, right? Just wanted to understand that part.
no. What is chitta?
Like for example, so basically realization happens in the heart, right? Like how Lord.
Realization is an experience.
Hmm.
Realization is an experience. Okay, so the realization can be experienced by at the level of mind. I mean, so all of these depends on the extent of purification of our senses, right? So, for example, at the stage of prema, when we are actually able to see Krishna's transcendental form by our own eyes, that is only possible because the eyes have been completely sanctified, completely spiritualized. How does that happen? That depends on the level of surrender and the bhakti the devotee does. So realization doesn't have to happen only through eyes. Realization can happen through ears. Realization can happen through mind. Realization can happen through any of the senses, based on how Krishna reveals it. But irrespective of what is the process of realization or the experience we are getting, the surrender is the process. Please understand, surrender is something that we have to do. Right? Then the revelation will happen by Krishna. Krishna will then reveal. We can't do anything in the revelation process. That is causeless mercy of Krishna. But what should we be at least trying to do is to surrender ourselves to Krishna and Guru. And that is the process of surrender.
Yeah.
See, again, Prabhupada doesn't use these words, chitta and all, too extensively. So please read Prabhupada's purports, right? Don't use a language which is not in Prabhupada's book, right? He doesn't use these words very commonly. Some purports here and there, somewhere he's used these words, right? Because it's all normally used by Mayavadis and confused. So Prabhupada has completely, moved away from this normal lingo that is out there in the line of spiritual realization. People always use these words and everybody gets confused. So it's better we use what Prabhupada is using. Yeah, Raja Prabhu.
Prabhu, in the case of Nalakwara Manigriva, they did many sinful activities, and Narada Muni gave that shapa, right? So they got they didn't perform any devotional activities, but still they got the darshan of Lord, right?
Yeah.
How we can understand, Prabhu? This?
Mercy of a pure devotee. So when a pure devotee gives mercy, anything is possible. That is the reason why our acharyas...
Even they can see Lord also.
Yeah. What about Dhruva Maharaj? What was the qualification of
he
Dhruva?
performed. Prabhu, he performed for 6 months like austerities, right?
But there are like so many people who performed austerities, right? There is nobody else like Dhruva Maharaj. That is because he got the mercy of Narada Muni. See, we should not discount the presence of Guru in a Jiva's life. It's only by the mercy of Guru that any of this is possible. Right? So the first thing is it has to be given by Guru, authorized Guru. Then the words of the Guru will itself have its impact. Then one strictly follows the process. Nalakuvara Manigriva got causeless mercy of Narada Muni. They had absolutely done nothing so worthwhile, right? But it was purely just mercy. Some devotees asked Prabhupada saying that we should be very fortunate to come to the stage of bhakti. Where is our sukruti, or where is our fortune? How did it get created? Prabhupada said, I created it for you. And that is the reason Prabhupada wants book distribution to happen. Why? You see, if we are sitting in the temple or center, who will come? Those who already have that sukruti will come into the temple. It's not a big deal to actually preach to them. Of course, they have some sukruti, and then it's easier for them to make progress. It's easier. Then we can say, oh yeah, we preach to so many people. No, but the real preaching is when we go out and we get hold of people who don't have that sukruti. That is the reason why going out is important for doing either Harinam, Prasadam distribution, but majorly book distribution. Because then we create the sukruti for that particular person. We create that is the mercy. Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about this in Madhurya Kadambini, that actually that bhakti is transferred from the heart of the devotee. To Supreme Lord has given the power to a devotee to give bhakti to others, even ordinary devotees like us. Supreme Lord has given us the power. So we can create. Yesterday somebody was saying, one of our Shamla Mataji in Hulima was saying her relative, I don't want to mention who, right, who was very, very rude and curt and very nasty person. And what happened? Just Bhagavatam entered their house. She's reading and she's saying, I can't even understand, but something in me left me. She said, something bad in me left me, but I'm not able to understand all this Bhagavatam. I'm reading, but I can't understand. But I can feel, I experience that something nasty in me left. It's like this. So just because, she didn't have the nasty person, but she got Bhagavatam. Oh, Bhagavatam came to her house. Mercy of a devotee. So that is why, devotees are the key for spreading Krishna consciousness. That is why Krishna says, my devotees are more important than me, or I treat them more, elevate. They're like, worship of my devotee is more valuable or more important than worshipping me. Who are these devotees? Who are like this surrendered souls who are going out distributing? Raju Prabhu is one of them who goes and distributes books. So we can give mercy like this.
Prabhu, one more thing.
Yeah.
I can see that some of the Bhagavatam sets are in Avini Road. I feel very sad, Prabhu. Like they're on the roads.
Yeah.
I mean, why people will do like this? I even can't understand.
Yeah, because of the way the way possibly sometimes the way these book sales have happened. You know how this happened? Not talking about what is the value of Bhagavatam, nothing. Right? Simply, of course, see, they are very, very unfortunate souls to whose house Bhagavatam came and then they threw it out. Very unfortunate. Right? Even though they didn't have the Sukruti at all, somebody tried to give them Sukruti and they rejected it. Right? But it also depends on, like some effort has to be put. That is why Prabhupada said that I don't want to distribute my books through bookstores. Because it is distributed by the enthusiasm of my disciples, he said. Right? So we have to, when we are distributing Bhagavatam, we also have to put some effort. Of course, Bhagavatam will do its Krishna, so he will do whatever he has to do. But if they see the enthusiasm in us, then they will feel, oh, okay, there must be something in this. Let me try to read. Now, of course, then again, yeah, not everybody has so much Sukruti, so yeah, unfortunate. So even though they got it, they rejected it. What to do?
Okay.
Yeah. So for many of these things, we have to read various, basically, slightly other, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings, etc. Then we will get more clarity about some of these things. So it might not be, of course, it is there in Prabhupada's books, but Prabhupada sometimes doesn't, he writes at a level of realization which is above ours. So many times we can't understand. But some of our acharyas, previous acharyas, same topics they've written it in a more simplistic way. So we might be able to understand. But of course, the basis is Srila Prabhupada's books. But I'm just saying, you might be thinking, no, where Prabhupada has talked about all these things. He's talked, but it might be slightly difficult for us to recognize them. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we will close here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyo cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavande ki jai, Samveta Gaura Bhakta ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat pranam.
Hare
Dandat
Krishna.
pranam to everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, disconnecting.